So, thank you for being here. Last session of the day, just a short check in. How are you right now? Wonderful, good to go, quite done. Give me. Okay, good. Good. So, I want to talk a little bit about the death of the old way and a mindful leadership approach towards that time of transformation that we are facing. And before doing so and jumping into the content, I want to do a little exercise with you. And the exercise is quite simple. You find somebody here, ideally the one close to you, and you will have a little chit chat. Yeah? So you will have 6 minutes. I will give you a sign with this bell after 3 minutes. So after 3 minutes, you know, if you only have spoken so far, it's maybe time to start listening to the other person so that both have equally possibilities to talk and to listen in the 6 minutes. Okay? And if you prefer standing and doing this exercise for yourself, you can have pen and paper, writing down some notes, or you can use your app. So, first of all, find a partner on your right side, on your left side, behind of you. Everyone has a partner? I see there's undecisiveness. Good? Everybody has. Yeah? Good to go? And if you don't have a partner, do you have a smartphone? Good. So the question is, what do we talk about? And I would like to invite a little reflection conversation for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, after these 2 days, what actually really inspired you after listening everything in this last 2 days? What inspired you the most during Torah? And after listening everything that you have heard in the last 2 days, what are maybe some challenges that you will face in your future? So all the things that with AI is happening and technology and so on, what will maybe some challenges that you're having? Okay? So start, and after 3 minutes, I give you a sign so that you know it's halftime. Enjoy the conversation. Okay, slowly and gently come to an end. Find your very personal way to thank your partner for doing this exercise, however you want to express this gratitude. And I want to jump right into the next exercise, and therefore, please put everything aside. So, your fun bottles, your coffee, your smartphones. And I want to do a little meditation practice with you. Just a minute to arrive. You can do this sitting, or if you want, you can do this standing. Check that you have your feet on the ground. And look that you have a somehow straight spine. And if you want, you can close your eyes now. Or if you prefer, you can have them open and look slightly down to the floor. And now, slowly and gently, bring your attention to your breath. Breathing deeply in and deeply out. And with every breath, you allow yourself to arrive a little bit more in yourself in this present moment here, right now. Breathing in and breathing out. And whenever you get distracted by noises, sensations, thoughts, with kindness, bring your attention back to your breath. And now take a moment to check in with yourself. How do you feel at this moment? What is going on right now in you? And which is the quality that you want to attend in this session right now? Take one more deep breath in. And in your own time, you can open your eyes again. Thank you so much. So, first of all, who am I? Why am I allowed to speak here? So, my full name actually is Angel Hernandez Bodenmüller. So, as you can hear, I have somehow a bicultural background. So, I grew up in South Germany with a Spanish father. And for all of you who grew up biculturally, you may know the situation that you actually never fit fully in. You're somehow always the weird one, yeah? And that was kind of already the starting point why I'm standing here. Because already as a child, I didn't understand why I couldn't just be me and why everybody treated me differently just because of my name. And why the heck do I have to speak only one language when I have two in my head? So I was always wondering, why is that so? And how can I actually change the world so that this changes? So that I actually only can be me, the who that I am, without having to change me. So obviously, as a child and a teenager, I tried still to fit in. So I went through the cool school system. I went through the university. I literally became an engineer, German one, for information management systems. And then happened the same. I started to work in the corporate field for software development. And I was like, oh, I love these possibilities for software. I love the complexity of corporate. But somehow I, again, don't fit in because I literally never understood why I should design software that, from my perspective, basically enslaves the user, yeah, instead of turning it around, designing simple solutions and taking the half of the budget to empower the users to actually use the software in a wise way. So, and this always brought me a certain conflict with certain political decisions. So I decided, whatever, I leave it. And I did what many people do if they don't know what to do. At that time, 15 years ago, it was only in Germany. Now they're coming from all over the world. So I moved to Berlin and I founded my first enterprise, which you would call now startup. So, and my first startup was a little media agency where we designed and created software solutions, agile software solutions for little and medium-sized organizations. So, because I really truly believe, and I still love technology, that giving access to knowledge to everybody through simplified technology would change the world. I truly believe that. After a certain while, it was like, again, doesn't work out. So I digged a little bit deeper. What do we actually need so that the individual can actually really be empowered, live his full potential, so that as a collective we can grow beyond our limitations that we are living. So I digged into learning organizations model and I co-founded the Dragon Dreaming Institute. And Dragon Dreaming is an approach which basically is building communities for learning organizations model for projects for greater good. And I actually was quite successful after a certain while. So I co-founded several projects, mainly in the field of social innovation. I supported hundreds of projects around the world, and I trained trainers all around the world. So I had an amazing life. And after a certain while, again, I had to face the truth, which was that 90% of my projects that I co-founded or I supported to live this new way of working, what you would call now agile working, failed. And I was wondering, why do they fail? Do I not get it? And what I discovered is that this new way of working, this new software, what it actually does, it creates a lot of freedom for the individual to empower itself, to take ownership, to participate. And most of the people actually cannot deal with these kind of freedom. So what they do is they fall into old habits, old behavior. And basically, they create the same thing and name it differently. So I was like, you know what? I don't get this humans, don't want to get it anymore. I quit. So I literally quit this society and I left Europe for more than 5 years and I traveled mostly in Latin America, spending a lot of time with indigenous cultures in the desert, in the mountain, in the jungles. And there I found some answers how I can live in harmony with myself, in nature, and with people. But not all of them. So I went to the other side of the globe, spent a lot of time meditating, doing all this weird yoga stuff, and learning a lot about Buddhism. And again, I had a lot of insight, and I actually achieved a state where I actually was in peace with myself, where I actually felt the first time in my life really connected with me and with the world. And I was like, amazing, can I stay here? And then they looked at me and they were like, dude, you may have the fancy haircut, but you're definitely not a monk. So go back to your culture and translate what you have learned for your people. And I was like, oh, there's nobody who understands me. So next quest, finding somebody who understands me and can help me to translate what I learned in these cultures for our world. And I don't know why, but I decided at that time that I believe we can actually change the world if we change the business world. because I truly believe that business is kind of an accelerator to learn the skills to be good leaders, to be good colleagues, to be good co-workers. And if we learn it in the business environment, we actually learn the skills to basically be good citizens. So I went on this search and I found Munira Latrush, which you'll see here. And at that time, she was like head of PR at Google for Google Europe, and she was founder of the YouTube Academy here in Berlin. And at that time, she was pioneering a project in Silicon Valley for mindful leadership. And this program, the Search Inside the Self program, has become the most successful mindful leadership program in the world. And what she did, she developed it in Silicon Valley and brought it to Europe. And then we met and she shared her pain. And her pain was like, you know what, I'm sick and tired. I had thousands of people in my training and I'm able to empower them and they really want to own their leadership. And then they run into the old hierarchical system. Yes, even inside of Google. And then I was like, oh, wonderful. I'm coming from the other way. I'm super frustrated because I have this learning organizations model and I'm not able to activate them. So that's when we co-created 7 years ago Connected Business. And we were allowed to support in the last years more than 35,000 leaders in the corporate field to learn new skills for transformation. And now you're wondering, why the heck is this guy so onto transformation? Just to give you some facts, and I guess many of you have heard them already. One of them is VUCA. Who has heard of VUCA, the VUCA word? I thought there would be more. Okay, good that I share this. So especially when we are invited to speak in leadership conference inside of corporates or outside, VUCA world is a kind of a thing. So I had to dig into it. What is this VUCA? So it seems that we are living in a world that is very volatile, very uncertain, very complex, and very ambitious. And I don't know, when you read that, I was the first time like, so what? That's basically my breakfast. Yeah. No? But then I digged a little bit deeper. Where does this term comes from? And the origin is actually from the military context and describes a soldier being at war, not knowing who is the real enemy and not knowing which strategy do I need to survive the day. And this is how our leaders describe their daily life. So you can imagine what kind of decisions you take if you feel like that. And why do they feel like that? And I know all of you know that. I still want to remind us, because I know how fast we forget at these times. We are facing big challenges, like big challenges. And I know I speak of leadership, but don't get comfortable, because from my perspective, it doesn't mean that you need a leadership position in an organization. Everyone who understands his field of influence and brings his outer into that to influence that area is a leader. So all of you are one. So I'm speaking to you. So, and what are we facing? One of the things that we have to face is the mental health crisis. It's like exploding. Yeah. And these are the official numbers. 40% of the US adults suffer under depression and anxiety. 40%. Official number. We don't want to talk about the dark numbers. We have an economical crisis, which is great, thanks to technology, but we still don't have a clue how to deal with that. That 35% of the workforce will be changed, transformed, gone, and we don't know what to do with that. And then, hello, if you didn't get the memo, we have a huge ecological crisis, like seriously, people. So experts report that by 2030, which is 7 years, if we don't change dramatically, climate change will be irreversible. What does this mean? We don't know. But it can happen that the first big ecosystems will collapse, which means you maybe cannot swim in the Mediterranean Sea anymore. Or the beans disappear. And what kind of impact this will have, we still don't know. But I guess it will be big. And our leaders have to deal with that on a daily basis. And then you think, okay, we take all our workforce to change that and to do something. And then you see reports like from McKinsey that 70% of all agility, innovation, and sustainability initiatives in companies fail. So they prove what I have experienced, and they say because employees resist change. I don't believe that. I think they can't change, and there's a difference. So what can we do? For us, it's a time for human evolution. The world is getting more complex and faster and faster and faster. And as much as I love the context of tech, still a lot of friends here, I'm inviting the question if we should really be exclusively focused on technology. Because technology will take over sooner or later. And then the question is, who are we? What is our contribution? So what are these skills that we can train for the inner and collective transformation? Here, a little overview. It's kind of a summary of many reports, what we need actually for a new working culture to face all these challenges and to be innovative, however, you name it. This is the summary. And the funny thing is that at the moment, 80% of investments regarding to human development, 80% goes into hard skills. And everybody knows that for your daily life and to be an outperforming team member, you need 80% soft skills and only 20% hard skills. And these are some of them. And as we don't have time, we are also busy. In our work, we focus on one specific skill that you can train, which actually improves all other soft skills automatically. And this is emotional intelligence. I guess you have heard of it already. If you want to dig into it, Daniel Goleman, groundbreaking work. His book is amazing. His work is even more amazing. He translated emotional intelligence, especially into the health system. And how he defines emotional intelligence, it's the ability to understand and skillfully manage emotions and relationships. And he defined 5 competencies: self-awareness, to understand what's going on in you, your natural resources; self-management, navigate your daily base on your natural resources and needs; then your motivation, to really understand what you need to be motivated to get up in the morning; empathy, and empathy, many think that empathy is actually sympathy, which means you're always smiling, you're super net, you are like, do you want to have a coffee when you're feeling bad? That's sympathy. Empathy means that you can connect with other humans on an emotional level, which means, and now the challenge comes, if somebody feels stress, you connect with the stress in you. So we are freaking out. And through this emotion, you connect on a human emotional level, while distinguishing how you actually feel. So you can feel the stress of the other person, but you understand that you are actually great. But once you can connect through the stress, you can connect with the other person and counter on a different level. So, and this is what he calls social skills, to skillfully deal with our relationships. And what he recommends is, if you want to focus on something, it's self-awareness, because it seems that that's the foundation for all other competencies. And there is a technique that helps to train self-awareness, which should be no surprise: mindfulness. Nevertheless, I want to speak a little bit about mindfulness, because mindfulness is it's like a huge topic, and there are many varieties. So some people believe if you want to be mindful, you have to sit always cross-legged, smile always, like never thinking, being completely in bliss all the time. yes, that's a part of a traditional mindfulness. How we work with mindfulness and how the science is sticking into it, it's very simple. Mindfulness is settling the mind to be focused and fully engaged with the present moment. So mindfulness helps you to just be here. That's it. Really nothing fancy, but that's basically it. So yeah, being aware what's going on outside of you and inside of you. That's it. So what the heck? And gratitude to the science. Finally, they give us a language to translate this weird inner thing into our outer world. Because when I started 20 years ago to speak about we culture and this kind of stuff, everybody looked at me, what a weirdo. What human needs? Where are you coming from? Go to the hippies, yeah. And as you can see, 20 years ago, there was basically no research publication, like basically none. And in the last 20 years, slowly and gently, researching is picking up because they see, oh wow, mindfulness has actually benefits for us as human society with the challenges that we are facing. And there's one central term in all this research. It's called neuroplasticity. Heard already? Give me real data, please. Yeah, I don't want to bore you. So good. A lot still haven't heard it. So to give a definition that we are all on the same page, neuroplasticity is the finding of science that no matter what you focus on, you can change the structure and function of your brain. Isn't that amazing? I grew up with the belief, learn fast as long as you're young, because when you're getting older, it's really getting hard. And yes, there's a difference how you learn as a child and as an adult, but nevertheless, no matter what you want, you can train it. So if you want to be more focused, you can train the muscles in your brain for focus. If you want to be more empathetic, you can train this muscle. And this is amazing. And just here to give you one of these studies, which discovered the default mode network. And what they did is they put the participants into the fMRI. This is this funny tube when you lie in and then it makes a really weird noise. And it can make a quite vivid picture of what is going on in your biological body. And while you are lying there without any exercise, this area in the brain was or is mostly activated. And this area of the brain is related to mind wandering and self-referential thinking. So you are everywhere, but not in the tube. Okay? So, and what they discovered with a simple exercise like what we did at the beginning, just a little minute to arrive, little breathing, this network was less activated, while other areas of the brain were more activated, who are related to attention management and also empathy. So with this little exercise that we did at the beginning, you literally train your muscles like you train your biceps with this 1 minute that you can manage better your attention. So you can choose if you want to mind wander, because that's nothing bad. We need it for regeneration, for creative process. Super important. Yeah. But if you want to be in a conversation that is important, you want to stick to the conversation and not think about the dinner that you are having. Yeah? And that's what we think, what is beneficial for mindfulness, that you start to choose what your system is doing instead the system is running you. So basically it's a mental training. So these are news that most of you have heard. So that's why I want to go a little bit deeper, because we hear this a lot from our clients. Yes, it's a mindset shift. Yes, and the example for me is if you want to run a marathon, it's recommendable that you go, before you run a marathon, you go to the gym and you build your muscles so that your body is prepared to run the marathon in a healthy way, right? Makes sense. And the same is with mindfulness. You can train the muscles in your brain that you can deal with this complex life in a healthy way, yeah? But then you have to live it, and then you have to run the marathon. And that's another piece of cake. And that's why I'm inviting the topic of death, and want to discuss this in the context of change. Because what I have to deal a lot in my work is change management processes. Yeah? And I guess you too, again, yeah? And for me, it's not easy to change. Yeah? It's a hard piece of cake. For me, it's a lot of work if I really want to change things in my life. And for business, it's the same. So when I digged into this topic, I observed that change basically is optimizing the old stuff. So you basically do the same thing, yeah, but you optimize it a little bit. And then you get a little bit better numbers at the end. And then you think, wow, amazing. Now we are X, Y, Z. Yeah, now we did it. Now we have again better numbers, more revenue, or whatever. And what it needs to transform, it's that something old needs to die so that something really new can arise. But we are so afraid of the topic death that it's really hard for us to let something go in us and around us. So we prefer to stick the thing that we know instead of trying another path. And what needs to die on our path has a lot to do with our identities that we are carrying. So the beliefs who we have to be, how a company should be, what are agile sneakers for an agile CEO, or whatever. Yeah, all these beliefs that we have carry with us that keeps us like in a cave, and we just try to navigate all these identities. And to bring this in other words, I present you proudly Brené Brown. Thank you for all the giants that walked before us. She is one of them, great researcher who looked into what does it need to have really innovative teams, what does it mean to be a leadership for what is coming. And how she defines it, to be an outperforming leader, to be an outperforming team, you need to let go of you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you truly are. And that's easier said than done. Yeah, easier said than done. What she says is the best part of you already exists. You don't have to do anything for it. You just have to allow it to show. And that's the challenge. Because that's how it looks if we have to let go of something. And there's a scientific term for that, and that's called the threat response system, or also known as the 3F system, the freeze, fight, flight system. And it's deeply ingrained in our brain and comes from a time where we still were living in the cave, and our neighbor was a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah? And what happened, if you didn't walk the same path like all your ancestors before, where you get to save food or to your family, it was quite possible that you met the saber-toothed tiger. And then what happened is, you saw the saber-toothed tiger, he saw you, and then you didn't have the opportunity to talk to him. Like, maybe you only think you are angry because you didn't sleep so well. But actually, that's the wrong diet for you to eat me. No. You had 3 options. Or you pretend to be dead, so freezing, or you run away, or you fight it and try to win the fight. So the funny thing is that this system is still very active in us. And the challenge is that we cannot distinguish between real threat and imagined threat. Yeah? And again, back to the VUCA world, our nerve system is constantly on alert. So it doesn't need a lot to run into this system. Therefore, an example, who of you was once in his life at least annoyed or even angry by an email? Email? Oh, not all, but okay. So you have really nice people you're working with. I know the situation once in a week. Another question. Who of you knows somebody who died from an email? No one. Me neither. Response to the saber-toothed tiger, same. What happens? Physically, we are tensing up and we are ready to act. Literally, all our oxygen goes from our brain into our arms and our legs because you do not want to think, you want to run. Okay? Emotionally, you are hyperactivated. So you're really getting kicked by your nerve system with only the heavy emotions, like existential emotions, like hate, fear, surviving. Yeah? No easy emotions. And cognitive, you switch into a negative bias, which means you only think in enemies, separation. How do I survive that? How do I fight this? So now imagine you're getting an email from a coworker who maybe does not feel so well and writes you an annoying email, and that's your physical response? That's why sometimes you react on a certain way where afterwards you think, I could have done maybe more skillfully. And now actually I have more problems than I had before. Okay, I deal with it. So, result is we keep repeating the old shit. Yeah? So we constantly stay in the survival habit patterns, which basically create toxic avoidance strategies. Because to go through that, there's one rule. You cannot go around it, you have to go through it. Yeah? It means you have to face the difficult emotions. You have to face the challenges. And we can't pretend that all these challenges are not there, but they are there. And to really transform in something new that literally has the skills to face it, you have to go through it and embrace it. Because at the moment, even that we know that everything that we are doing is quite unsustainable, we know it. Really, now we know it. Most lately, now we know it because we basically would need 2 planets to continue our strategies, how we live right now. Yeah, because our natural resources of 1 year are already extinguished in July or in June already. And we keep on feeding a system that supports a few winners and many losers. Yeah? That's how we deal with it. We give our responsibility to the big ones and they play their game. Yeah? And we find our spot in it, which is quite comfortable, and continue doing. And that's how we are where we are. So, how do we embody now the transformation? Because all of you, I guess you are on me on the boat that we really want to. Because there's actually a book, I forgot the author's name, but it's called We Are Actually Good. And this is a big research around our human behavior, which shows that as humans, we are actually good people. And if we have the opportunity of choice, we always choose the one who connects and supports other peoples. So, but how do we deal with these difficulties? So basically you have 2 options and you can play with them. And basically you have to play with them. You face fear, stress, anger, and all this kind of overwhelm. And then you can go into your protection mechanism, your functional autopilots, and your addictive avoidance strategies. Because every addiction has one seed in it. It makes you immediately feel better, no matter which strategy. It can be food, alcohol, but even communication patterns can be addictive. Yeah, if you are a smart person, you can always win the conversations. Afterwards, you feel always better. But who lost? The other one. So if somebody wins, the other needs to lose. Yeah, but you feel better afterwards. So you keep on winning all conversations. And that's good, huh? Again, there's no judgment in it. I just want to bring it on our consciousness, on our awareness, because sometimes these mechanisms are super helpful. Yeah, we need to be effective in our daily life. And sometimes these strategies are wonderful. Addictive behavior can be wonderful. Yeah, if you get addicted to workouts, or if you do it in a healthy way, or healthy food, or good relationship, you can be addicted towards that too. So choose your fights. Yeah, that's again and again the point. So you can use mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness to really empower yourself, to know you can go through that. You have the skills, and you can choose who you want to be and when you want to be on autopilot and when not. There's one big challenge that we all are quite scared of, and that's the unknown. And I want to mention it because also there in the field that I'm working, it's kind of really funny. Because to trust the unknown, you have to trust yourself that you have the skills to go through something that you still haven't done. And most of us already went through stuff. And when we are looking backward, we survived it. And when I talk with my clients, I many times get the response, yeah, I know I can do it, but I don't think our team can do it. And our company culture definitely doesn't support it. So, and if this says everyone in the team, no one does anything because we don't trust each other. So there is something that we have to take this leap of faith. And here, Mr. Einstein, maybe the one of you have already heard of him, already mentioned it years ago. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Such a smart guy. He just didn't know, he didn't tell how this works. When I found this out, I was like, I get it. I really get it. But when I'm now thinking that I have to think new, isn't it still my thinking of the present moment? Hello? Can somebody tell me how I think new out of nothing? So I was really happy to, in that quest, find this work. And I know at least two of these people here know this work, Spiral Dynamics. And I want to mention it because a lot of the new organization development culture projects actually base on this work and don't mention it. And that's why I want to bring it to the front and give it honor that it's worth. So what this research is all about is finding a way to explain where we humans actually come and how it happens that we are where we are here and what the future might be, new thinking. And this is how it looks. I tried to make it simple. I know it's not. But what you basically can see is that 100,000 a year, we started with as a collective, as a human collective, with a very survival-oriented consciousness. So it was only saber-tooth tiger or me. Done. And slowly and gently, we evolved as a society into a society that was more organized, into a society that grew. So we had our first empires, which is the red stage. So we had our pharaohs, our big kings, who created the foundation of our society right now. Then the first nations came, and a lot of structure, also inspired by the church, what is right and what is wrong. And from there, we grew more into performance-oriented consciousness, where the first big enterprises grew. And from there, we grew into more networking and community. Yeah? And now we are actually living in a time where it's more about integrating the things that exist and getting an holistic perspective. So the end game, and there is a little bit more, but for this context, that's enough. The end game basically is to understand that we are one global family and that our act should be peace-oriented. So, and now you can think, yeah, nice theory, but actually that's our development as collective. And if you want it or not, that's the path. Because what you can see now, especially in organization development, is that a lot of corporates and a lot of companies wants to jump from a culture, consciousness culture, which is actually quite hierarchical, blue, and wants to be agile. Problem is, for an agile organization, you need the yellow consciousness, the one who integrates all stakeholders, the one who can communicate with the environment. And they just want to make this big jump without having clear performance and without having the appropriate relationships. Because that's what this theory mentioned. You cannot just jump from the lowest to the big one. You have to go through the different stages. And to make this a little bit clearer, or it made click to me, was when they mentioned that as humans, we actually walk the same path. And then it was like, oops. So we basically start very egoistic, where it's only about surviving. Mama, give me food, or I cry the hell out of me. Yeah, and I don't care how, but I will have everything I need. And you grow slowly and gently into a system that is very structural, very performance-oriented. You go to the school, then become your teenager. And teenager time, it's all about who has the nicest girl, who will have the biggest car, and what is my career. So it's all about performance and you. And that's good. You need that for your evolution. And on a certain point, hopefully, you understand that it's not only about you, it's also about the people around you. And then when you start to create slowly and gently and grow and making families. And what is interesting is that the scientists around that model don't give us a clear age for the last two conscious stages, because they say the problem is to move into that stage, to arrive that stage, to integrate the stage. You literally have to integrate all other stages. So you need to have a healthy performance in your life. You need to have healthy relationships in your life. You need to have a clear structure in your life, so that you then can integrate them all in a healthy, balanced way, so that you can be of service for what is good for the greater good. So we cannot make shortcuts. And this is what we call the journey from self-leadership to co-leadership. This is empowering yourself so that you are a whole person, so that together as a whole person, you ideally contribute to something bigger than yourself. And I want to explain a little bit shortly about this co, because there's again a lot of myth around what co means. And I try to simplify it for you. So basically there are different ways of working together. The one is cooperation. 3 stakeholders basically have nothing to do with each other, but they communicate in an effective way so they can work with each other. 1. Then you have collaboration. You have 3 stakeholders which have a common ground, and you agree on that common ground and you work strongly together. But on this common ground, the other stuff of your personality, you do it in your private time. Okay? And that's mainly the culture like most teams work. And then you have co-creation, and co-creation looks like that. All 3 stakeholders bring themselves completely in to create something bigger than the individual. And I really hope for future organizations, or it's a hint, if you have seen the conscious evolution, one of these stakeholders of your company is our planet, because he's a crucial part of your success. If he doesn't give you the resources to make your fancy products, your company will not survive. So you can include that stakeholder. And again, there's no right and wrong. Sometimes cooperation is wonderful. To get effective meetings, wonderful. Sometimes collaboration is wonderful, and sometimes co-creation is wonderful. That's it. You can pick it again. And again, mindfulness has proven that with a simple mindfulness program, the collective intelligence could be measured and increased already after a year, 13%. That's a study that Boston Consulting did. So again, good news. We have challenges, but we have the tools to face it. How? That's how we do it. We start the journey with our clients with self-leadership, so we really empower the people to find their purpose and find a healthy life performance. Then we train them in healthy relationships so that you can authentically relate and healthily co-depend in a hopefully non-violent communication culture. And then you can literally create the ecosystem for a real co-creative culture and a collective responsiveness. And if you are on that journey too, you might know the situation that you do this kind of things like I'm doing, and then your client is like, yes, now I get it. Now I know what I have to do. And then they say, so we want to have this agile new working culture, but it should be enough if we do a 3-hour effective meeting training, right? Yes. Yes, it's enough for the starting point. Obviously, we recommend to do the journey from the one side to the other, but I literally don't care anymore where you start. My job is to do my job as good as possible, that after 3 years, the team notice, oh wow, already with this little tweaks, our meetings are so much healthier and more effective, that they then maybe start thinking and like, oh wow, how good could our meeting actually be if we could actually speak even the difficult stuff with each other, like really the difficult stuff. And wow, how amazing would it be if our leaders actually would know what they are doing. So, and then the journey starts from the other way around. Here's some results, and there are some clients that also have proven over the years that compared to teams that did these trainings and the one who did not do our trainings, they had a 200% return on invest. We don't put this number on any paper, even that our marketing strategies and our investors with whom we have spoken had said, put this in the front, but we believe it's really time that we create a new narrative. So we know that if we evolve as humans in our skills to deal with our daily life, revenue will come by itself. It has proven again and again. But what are you selling? Return on investment, or it's about the human? And to close my content part, and then let's see how much time I have, I want to share, because the journey towards that or through that is not easy, because there is no right, there is no answer. You really have to develop it for yourself. And I want to share a short story from the native tradition of the North of America, where the grandfather tells to his grandson that we all have two wolves in our heart fighting with each other. And the grandson, and the dark wolf, is the one who is anger, jealousy. And the light one is love, peace, connectedness. And the grandson asks his grandfather, but who wins? And the grandfather answers, the one you feed. And with that, I want to do a little exercise before we come to the closing. So one more time, find a comfortable position. Look that your feet are on the ground, your spine is straight. You can close your eyes or have them slightly open while looking down to the floor. And now, allow your focus to rest on your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And with every breath, allow yourself to arrive a little bit more in yourself. Now check in with yourself. How do you feel right now? What is present in you after listening to all this stuff? And if you bring your challenge that you have shared at the beginning of this session, how do you feel now regarding to this challenge that you may face? Or maybe through this presentation, new challenges have arisen. Now ask yourself, in order to go through this challenge, what would you need to let go? What part of you maybe would have to die? And now feel into your body. What part of you has difficulties to let it go? And where in the body can you feel it? And if you give these feelings a little bit of space, you don't have to do anything. You just allow them to be there. You just feel into them. What emotions can you feel in it? Is there sadness? Is there anger? Is there fear? And while holding the space for this emotion, what does this emotion wants to tell you? What needs are there behind the emotion that you may have to take care of? And just allow it to feel it in your body. And now when you think about times that you maybe have gone through similar challenges, how does this make you feel right now? And if you invite the thought now that you are a human being, and we all struggle from time to time, how does this make you feel? And now let it go. Bring your attention back to the breath, breathing deeply in and deeply out. If there are still strong emotions in you, you can put them into your hand. And the next time you breathe in, you create a fist. And you put all these emotions into your fist. And when you're breathing out, you open your hand and you let them go. Take one more deep breath in. And in your own time, you can open your eyes again. So, short recap. Thank you so much. The world is burning. We can train the skills to deal with it. We can move from a survival autopilot into our freedom of choice. Death is a great opportunity. And we have all the solutions in us as long as we stick together. Trust that the conscious evolution is going to a path where we can live in harmony and in peace here on earth. And for that, please choose every moment how you want to be serving this greater good. Because we believe that the transformation that we have right now is a huge possibility to serve the next generations to come and create a better place for all of us. And with that, thank you so much. Anything you want to add? Are we good? Thank you so much.